Welcome, everyone. Thank you for zooming in to this evening's event through the East Hampton Library. Um, Welcome to Authors Night at the East Hampton Library. This event is generously sponsored by CIBC Private Wealth Management, the Hilaria and Alec Baldwin Foundation, Patty Kenner, Barbara and Stephen Heyman, Michelle Tortorelli, and Tom Kearns, as well as Janet C. Ross. Tonight, we're pleased to present Zibby Owens being interviewed by Liz Astrof. At the end of this interview, there'll be a Q&A, so you're welcome to type any questions into the chat. And without further ado, I'd like to turn over this evening to Liz Astrof and Zibby Owens.
Hi.
Yeah, thanks.
I know to talk first. Thank you.
Hi, Liz. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks to the people who are here.
Thank you.
A small but mighty group. I'm Zibby Owens from Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, and this is my book. It's an anthology, which I can talk about in a second. And this is my dear friend, Liz Astrof, who's kind enough to be doing this with me.
I'm
and
so happy to
also
be doing this.
is so accomplished in her own right.
I don't know.
Liz is
I have a bag of Fritos that says "I love you, Daddy" on it. Whatever.
Liz is the author of one of my all-time favorites called Don't Wait Up, Confessions of a Stay-at-Work Mom, which is a collection of essays that coalesce into a lovely memoir of her childhood and current state of affairs, including the craziness with her own family and now how she's, a crazy mom herself with, like all of us. And Liz has an essay in my anthology called Moms Don't Have Time to Cry, which is really amazing. And that is part of why I've tagged her to help us through this event. So I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but this is like a bad habit of mine is that I interview everybody all the time. So Liz, you start by telling people about your essay and maybe a little bit more about your career and everything, because you're like such a rock star.
I'm actually a rock star. No, my thing is that I'm very bad at time management and I'm so busy that I don't have time to cry. So I can't have like a good cry, especially when you work a lot and you have kids. If you feel the urge to cry, then you have to have a window. And if you don't, you have to stuff it down. So I try to do my crying in bulk, which has been like cry about everything at once. But sometimes a good song comes on or someone calls and I keep putting it off, and then I'll cry over the most ridiculous thing. And it's usually happy tears that lead to sad tears, like a happy ending of a movie, especially with animals. And then I'll just start sad crying and get it all out. I love crying, by the way, because I never get to do it. It's like going to Hawaii for me. It happens like once every 3 years.
The other day, like last Saturday or something, Kyle, my husband, who you know well, his Morning Moon music department, whatever, put some song in a Hersheys commercial, and
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. But it was about like a boy who goes away to college and his little brother and like the Hershey bar he snuck in. Oh my gosh, he showed me this ad. Liz, not only did I burst into tears then, I cried for like 2 hours. I cried with the kids. I couldn't ratchet it back. It like tapped some thing. So anyway, I totally relate.
I feel like you have access to tears though. Like that amazing essay you wrote the other day about your kids going, can I talk about it?
Yeah. Well, the Hersheys thing was right when they were going to leave.
I figured that. So your kids going off to be with their dad, and the gut, like just the pain you felt and how it affected you right away. That would affect me in like a month and out of nowhere. And I don't even think, like, my shoulders are always up around my ears. I'm like so closed off that I'm jealous that you have such access to emotion, because I'm always experiencing the wrong emotion when the emotional thing happens.
There's no such thing as the wrong emotion.
Oh no, I think smiling at a funeral is bad. I don't, but I'm always worried I'm going to.
It's that's like a nervous response.
It is. I have a lot of those, but yeah, I'm always nervous that I'm going to smile at a funeral and then I'm actually sad and I'm shocked. My one of my very close friends passed away a few years ago, and it was terrible, so traumatizing. And I went home to the funeral and I was actually worried that I would be so removed from my body that I would not cry at all and I would just look happy. And I walked into the church and burst into tears and cried through the whole thing. And I was so happy. I was just relieved that I actually felt the emotion when it was happening. I was able to process it. I mean, that just like guts you. So it was terrible.
One trick you can do, which I do unintentionally all the time, is imagine people's funerals, including my own, and then just like get all the, I'll be like on a plane. I'm like, what if the plane went down? What if we all went down together?
All
Like,
the time.
what would that funeral be like? You know, what would it play like? Let me imagine all the people crying. And then before you know it, like I'm crying too. I'm so worried. Everyone's like, Mom. And I'm like, what? Sorry. I was like in, you know, the most
Well, when I imagine my funeral, I mean, the other day I was imagining, you know, our parents getting older and the finality of death and how someone's gone. And when I imagine, I'm always worried about being found. So I'm worried about my death, me being found somewhere. I just have this horrible feeling I'm going to be found. So if I never take.
In other words, like people can't find you somewhere and then eventually they stumble upon you.
Yeah, or like my husband will hear like a thump and an hour later check on me and I'll be in the bath. I don't take baths for that reason, because I do not want to be found naked in a bathtub. That's like, I can't, I don't want to.
Did you read Malibu Rising, by the way?
No.
Oh.
Does someone get found in a bathtub?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my friend's mother was found. I mean, it's horrific to begin with, but I remember one night we were having earthquakes and we had an earthquake and an aftershock, and I put on a little lip gloss and I went through all my texts and deleted them before I went to bed, just in case. Some days when I feel like deathy, when I feel like something's going to happen, I'll like delete all my texts before bed.
You know, they save them, right? They're like all on some server somewhere.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like in your account somewhere. Somebody can access. That's how they like get all those government things. And I'm pretty sure. I mean,
if I was important, this would be really, I'd have to go. To go.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'll look into it. I was under the impression that like once you say something, you put it in writing, you send it to someone else, it can come out years from now. You don't know how.
I will not run.
Because I used to delete all my texts when I had Sprint, and this is like back in the day. Is Sprint even still around? Anyway, and so you could go into the Sprint website, and they would be there backed up for you.
I'm going to go on the AT&T. I'm very scared. Wait, if they're backed up for you, can you? I remember because your text will, like, it's very dangerous. Your texts will go around your entire house and pop up on everyone's phones and iPads. And then if you rent a car, whenever we rented a car as a family, somehow my phone gets hooked up to CarPlay, and a text will be like, text from Linda. Are your kids really that bad? And why do you hate your husband? And I'm like, and it's like a robot reading them. And I'm like, I don't know who that, shut it off. Stop the car.
Oh my gosh, that's recently started happening to me too. And my kids are like, accept text, mommy. And I'm like, no, don't accept the text. I don't know what it is. Just don't. I'm like trying to find the volume, like swerving, turning. I mean, I don't know what it could be, but you just never know. What is it?
Never know. Every time my daughter wants to use my phone to put music on, I'm like, all right, 1 minute. And I just go through and start deleting pictures. And now my son is on Instagram, which is terrible because I have to follow him to make sure he's not doing anything bad. Not that he would, and also that he's not too boring. But now, doesn't that mean that he can follow me? He's going to see all the things. Like, I use them as, I'm not like one of those moms who brags about my kids. I just make people feel better. So I make jokes about them and stuff, but not in like a nice way. Basically, I embarrass them. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen. So
I kind of live in this suspension of disbelief state with Instagram that like my kids are only going to read the ones that they should read, right? Like they're not going to read the other ones. Like they just won't. But the ones that I want them to read, they'll read,
Yeah. Are there ones you want them to read on Instagram?
I mean, not overly, but I mean,
like nice animal. Who has
I posted like a very pretty view, and like they can see that. That's cool.
Oh, that's nice. I see what you mean.
Like me crying like guttural cries because they're gone. No, that'll make them feel
guilty. That's good. They should know. How are they?
They're good. I know this because of Instagram and the
Oh,
pictures
good, good,
they're
good.
posting. So, you know,
Who's on Instagram? Phoebe and Owen?
yes. Let's not give their hashtags and
Okay,
whatever.
I won't.
You know.
I won't. No. Sorry. I didn't know because I don't know how old they're allowed to be. Like I
Yeah,
never thought
at
my kids.
14, I feel like it's okay.
I didn't think I was going to live long enough to see my kids even read. So like even my book, you know, people will say to me like, "Do you realize they're going to read that stuff?" And I'm like, "They can't read." I mean, well, they're 11 and 14, but everything. I mean, I'm hoping it's more of a.
Have they
Love.
tried to read your book? How do you feel about that?
I'm very nervous about it. I wasn't until a friend of mine said, you know, if one of them runs for office or does anything important, it's going to, it's, you know, that stuff shows up, like things I've said. I mean, I haven't said anything that bad, but anyway, I was like, do you think either of my kids are going to run for office? But you know, I do feel kind of worried a little bit. I'm a little bit worried for them to read about, you know, my mother, my actual biological mother, and also about themselves. Like hopefully my son doesn't really get sarcasm. He's very concrete, literal, it's called. So yeah, I'm a little worried. I am going to have to give them have a big sit down with them, and other kids in my daughter's class have read my book. So
Ooh,
I know.
I didn't
And
think about that.
well, I don't think my daughter is as good of a reader. So I'm more impressed that they read like a book because Phoebe's not. But yeah, that worries me. It definitely worries me because now I sent a video to a mom friend of mine of my husband calling Phoebe downstairs on the Alexa and her screaming at him that she's not going to school because her hair looks bad. And I sent it to a group text of friends. The daughter went to school that day and told Phoebe, and she flipped out. And I'm like, so now
no.
I can. Then I wrote, I think it was the crying essay, or maybe it was another one on your site. I think I think it was one on your site that
That was also really good.
the mother read. I don't remember what it was, but her mother, my friend, read it to her. And I was like, you can't read my essays to your kid. My kid is in them. So I'm a little worried. I feel like it was a little short-sighted of me.
Here, I'm going to show your essay to our participants and anybody who watches the recording of this. But this is Liz's essay in my book, Moms Don't Have Time to. The quarantine anthology, Moms Don't Have Time to Cry. And Liz, you're working on like such amazing stuff now. So what show? Tell everyone the show you're working on and
okay.
all this great stuff.
I have a show on Fox that is coming out in the winter. It's mid-season, and I wrote it years ago. I wrote the original script, and it is based on. It's called Pivoting, and it's based on these three best friends who lost their best friend at 40. It's a comedy, and they live in Long Island, where I grew up on the South Shore, and they, in grief at 40 years old and in denial, when you shouldn't like make any decisions, they all make massive life changes and upend their lives and kind of ruin everything in the funniest way. And it's about like female relationships and how it's aspirational in the way that how women can totally love each other unconditionally, and those friends you have since you're a kid and have seen you in every way and don't judge you. And it's actually all based on real people. But I noticed around 40 that like my peers were starting to upend their lives. Like, I guess that's a midlife crisis, but you know, they were either, my principal of my school always says around second grade, the parents start getting divorced. And it was like, that's when all the divorces happen. And it's true. They start getting divorced. People start having affairs. People go back to school. People have another baby. Like that has been happening to everyone. So I think it's a relatable show in the way that women just go through this and just have like an identity crisis. And you're kind of like in your 20s again, in a way, because you're like starting over. So it's all based on real friends. And this woman, Maggie Q, is in it. She was in, I don't know if you saw like Nikita, and she's actually she's a drama actress, but she's in this comedy and she's really funny. And Jennifer Goodwin from Once Upon a Time and Big Love, and Eliza Coupe, who was in Happy Endings and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, it's fun. So we start shooting right after Labor Day.
Wow.
But I've been in the writer's room now for 11 weeks, but we had 1 week in person before they shut down again. And it was cool.
Oh my gosh. So where does it shoot? In LA?
It shoots in LA on the Warner Brothers lot. We have 3 stages, and my office, for the show, it was my office for Two Broke Girls. So it's very surreal. It's like the exact same building. And I was there for a week and it was great. And now I'll be on the lot when we're shooting, but yeah, we're shooting and it's total COVID protocols. And now like everything was starting to loosen up and now it's starting again. It's crazy.
I know. And you're sure that one of these characters is not really based on me? I feel like it is.
No, but one of them,
I think you're just pretending.
So many people my age have the same exact experience. The same, like I have 3 friends going through that right now in a way that are, the thing I like about this is that like these girls, they still laugh together in the way that like where you should be crying, but instead you're laughing uncontrollably where you can't even breathe. And for some reason, I don't know if it's an insult or a compliment, but all my friends, I've told you this, all of my friends tell me their secrets because they know I won't judge them and I'm everyone's alibi. So
that's very dangerous.
Bad.
You have to be, I actually, do you know I do this like sex talk podcast now with it's called Sex Talk with Zibby and Tracy. It's actually like gone viral on TikTok, which is like ridiculous.
Oh my God.
In fact,
I haven't been on
my
TikTok.
friend, my son Owen's friend from boarding school came over and he like sat down at the dinner table. He's like, "Oh, you were on my For You page," which is like the front page TikTok.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway,
does he know you do that show?
Because Owen had told him like I don't usually say Owen's name, but anyway, but one of the things we talk about is when you, and this is so relevant to my anthology, which is why I feel like this is all very relevant, but because Moms Don't Have Time To is all about what we have to make time for, which is love, and a whole section of this book is Moms Don't Have Time to Have Sex, and their essays related to relationships and just like fitting in your marriage and all this good stuff. But one of the questions that Tracy, who's this sex expert who I interview every show basically, says is you have to be so careful not to be the alibi for a friend of yours. That first of all, it's like one thing to put your friend in a position and like, what if your husband's friends with their husband and then they trust you and like.
One of them are. So the other night I was like, if this person asks you where this person, his wife is, just say I'm out with her. And he's like, okay, not asking any questions, would never think. But I'm like, it's okay. We could just ask Todd to just say I'm out with you. I mean, doesn't ask questions. I don't even think it occurs to him. But yeah, you're right. Because I'm not good at juggling like a lot of different pieces of information.
Well, I do.
But there's one friend who got divorced, so everybody knows that their husbands aren't going to call the husband. So everyone is using. So she's become the alibi.
Oh wow!
Isn't that crazy? We're grown women.
I mean, you're right. I do think that there's something with this life stage, midlife crisis,
right? I mean,
reincarnated,
but it's hard to have one in a pandemic when you're home. I also know people who were getting divorced and then it's like the gate shut and they got stuck in their marriage, like on lockdown.
Yeah, how did that go? I was wondering. I wonder how that went for people.
I think it's been like terrible for most people. I don't think there are going to be a lot of COVID babies anyway. I don't think it was like a reunion kind of thing. I think it was mostly bad, sadly.
Wow. Well, very interesting.
I didn't know you did that talk.
I do. Yeah, it's fun. I'll tell you more about it later. But yeah, it's really fun. You can, what's that?
The OnlyFans page. Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh my God, it's crazy. It's like, I'm sure I'm going to get it wrong, but you can put things up. People have to buy. Okay, so there was this mom in Northern California who had an OnlyFans page where she would like just show her boobs, but not her face. You can show feet. You can show like yourself. Like there's like a fetish for everything. So people pay to see your stuff and you make like hundreds of thousands of dollars you could make, like a shitload of money. And then she got caught, like someone took a picture of it and sent it to someone, but like it was going on for a long time. She made a lot of money.
I don't think anyone would pay to see my feet.
No one would pay to see anything.
People might pay to not see my feet.
Isn't that crazy though? Like there are fetishes like people who like watching people fall down. So you like fall down on your own. It's crazy. So I just heard about it because we're doing a story about it, but I had no idea.
Wow.
So,
well, your new show sounds really, really cool and amazing.
It's been a dream to do because I wrote it 6 years ago while I was on Two Broke Girls, and like just as a way to process my friend's death, which sounds terrible and very LA, but so it's taken a long time to get it made. So I'm very grateful for every minute, even on Zoom.
I feel like every author I talk to, like you cannot give up. It takes forever. Like sometimes it just takes forever. Maybe this is the right time. I mean, think about how great like everybody is talking about pivoting now. Like that's like everybody in the world has had this. So like, what a perfect show. And you just like had it sitting there, like ready to trot out. Like if you had wasted that, what would you be doing now?
Well, it was called Pivoting from the beginning. And then when Fox bought it, they were like, we need a sexier name. But then now everybody is saying Pivoting. So it seems like it's zeitgeisty. And also, but this project is, because a lot of times when you write something and you have a pilot and it doesn't go, the producers will always say, you know what, you never know, someone could be looking for this. And you're like, whatever, that's never going to happen. It really doesn't happen. And this completely died so many times that this is a lesson in like, you never know, but you have to be so annoying that you have to just not let something go, and you have to push it and push it and push it. And I couldn't not, you know what, it was like every time it would die in a way, I felt like I was losing my friend again. So I think I had like an extra, like I was like, I need to keep her alive. So it was some way to keep her alive to me. So, and now she's alive in the fall. I mean, in the winter. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I have another anthology coming out this fall in November.
I know. I can't wait to get it. What is this one called?
Moms Don't Have Time to Have Kids.
So what are most of the
the next one is based on 5 different topics. So the first one was, I don't think I'll even remember. Moms don't have time to read, eat, work out, sleep, have sex, and did I say read? And breathe. And the second one is moms don't have time to sleep, get sick, see friends, lose weight, and write. Okay. So yeah, it's really fun. There are 49 different authors, 15 bestselling authors, and all these notable, amazing, acclaimed, awesome authors, 53 essays. And we're kicking it off with a hopefully in-person retreat at the Ocean House in Rhode Island.
Wait, I want to go to that. Is it already booked?
It's sold out within a few hours, but I can put you on the wait list.
I want to be on the wait list. When is it?
November 10th to 12th.
I think my show ends November 10th.
Ooh.
I could be right on a plane and get there the morning of the 11th. I think that would be exactly what I need.
You could come just,
I'll just sleep outside.
Yeah, it'll be great.
I'll be happy to be outside.
You might have to put some tents if it's all COVID, might have to have it all be outside anyway.
Be an end. I have to imagine. But that's awesome. I'm excited to read it. You're like a machine.
Oh,
I don't know. When you wrote your essay the other day, when you sent that one, that was so beautiful. And you said you went down to the village and wrote it. How long does something like that take?
I just wrote another one right before we got on here. It takes like an hour and a half max.
Oh my God.
I just wrote like a 1,500 word essay about why I'm going to stop doing Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight, the podcast. Because oh my God. I've basically given up on losing weight. And I don't think I should do the podcast anymore.
Well, you have a lot. You have a lot going on.
Yes, but I'm stopping it for philosophical reasons as well. Not just that I have no time, which I have no time to do anyway. But I don't know. I've just decided I was walking, like, I can't even call it hiking. We have like this tiny road by our house that goes like there for 2 minutes and then we walk back. It's not a hike. It's on like a pavement.
Your street, I mean?
It's a cross. It's like hill. Back. It's like a fire lane or something like that. Anyway, we were all walking on it and like, my little one kind of like patted my stomach as she always does. I don't know. It's like her stuffed animal is like my cozy stomach. But she was just like, patting it like the security blanket that it is for her. And she was like, you're not fat, Mom. You're not thin. You're not like fat. Like, I think you're average. And I was like, thank you. And then I said to her, because I was like, I actually have been thin. I can be thin. Like, I was thin before for a little bit before I had kids, but I was like, for me to be thin takes all my energy, right?
Yeah.
Like my body is not naturally that way. Like I have to really, really focus hard on it. And I was like, right now I've decided that's not what I want to really focus hard on. I want to focus on all you guys, or I want to focus on all my work stuff. And then
Right.
as I said it out loud to her, I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually true. Like, it's not that like my eating is so out of control or whatever. It's like, I could do it. I could do a million things. I can do anything I want to do. Like
Right.
if I wanted to do this, I would do it. So anyway, I realized like,
So
yeah, maybe
freeing.
moms don't have time to lose weight, but like maybe that's okay. Maybe the way to feel better in our bodies is just to like, you know, think about it differently. And like maybe we've all made decisions that we don't want to focus on it right now. And maybe that's okay. So I don't know. That was my essay today. So yeah,
I
it took
really
about
like that. And
hour.
then how long did that take you? An hour?
About maybe an hour and a half.
Do you just blur
You know,
it all?
the longest part is finding the photos to go with it. That's
Oh,
why.
really? Oh my
No, not the
God.
longest, but that takes me like another 20 minutes because I'm like, oh, I have to find a picture of me really thin. Like now I have to find a terrible picture of me. Now I have to find that picture of me holding up a trophy where my arms look so bad I didn't even want to post the picture. So
It really is true that there's, I mean, during the pandemic, I was like, there's only so much I can focus on right now. And also in the pandemic, I knew I wasn't going to be seeing people tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day. And, you know, it's really put things into perspective for me also, and what I have the bandwidth for. And I'm not any happier at any, I mean, first of all, nobody notices your weight as much as you do. Nobody's thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, this whole pandemic has been about just like rewards, like food, just waiting for food and living for food. And I was like, I need this. I'm not, you know what? I'm just going to eat cheese doodles in bed. And that's just what I'm going to do. I'm not going to beat myself. And what went away was me beating myself up over it.
Yep.
Because you need every bit of emotional strength you have.
Yeah. And also like, I love the pleasure of good food. I love food.
I mean,
Sometimes I wonder like, I'm like, do thin people not like food as much as I do? Or are they more comfortable? Like, I don't know, not to justify it, but like, I love it. Like I take a bite and I'm like, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever had.
You know, and you know what? What about people who forget to eat? First of all, I don't think I've ever forgotten to eat in my life. And people who get bored eating. I mean, that's just a different kind of person.
Yeah. I've
None
never
of them are my friends.
I've been too busy to eat. I've been like back to back. I didn't have time to grab something, but not ever forget. Like I didn't forget it. It's just I couldn't fit it in.
There was this dietitian that I saw who said a while ago, and she said, only eat when you're hungry. And I just thought, I haven't been hungry. I don't let myself, I haven't been hungry in 6 years. I don't even know what that feels like. I eat so much that I never am hungry. So it was interesting.
I had that thought today because I've basically like, if I had a step counter, which I don't, it would probably be like 16 steps. And I was like, you know, I'm ready for another meal, but like, I should really like walk around the block so I can like.
True, I have the same thing. I think I went 75 steps today.
Oh my gosh.
The other thing is the woman said 10,000 steps a day. And I was like, that doesn't happen unless I'm like a mall walker, which I would love to do.
I know. I'm like, where would I be going? I would have to like have like my car would have to break down and there would
I would walk home from the other side of town. So, happening.
Well, if anybody who's listening, which we've basically forgot that other people are here while we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
But if anybody has any questions for Liz Astrof, screenwriter extraordinaire and author of The Confessions of a Stay-at-Work Mom, Don't Wait Up.
It's going to come out in paperback when the show launches. It's going to just be called Stay at Work Mom.
Nice.
That's really it. That's really all I need to say. So going back to that title, and it'll be in paperback finally.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway.
Excellent. Well, anyway, if anyone has questions they want to put in the chat, feel free. But if not, we can chat a few more minutes before we go. And by the way, this is so meaningful. It's so crazy that this is how we're doing Authors Night, because you probably don't know much about Authors Night not being in the Hamptons or whatever, but I have gone to authors night in person whenever it's been available for years, because they get all these amazing authors under a tent and they have like stacks of their books and they sit there and you come over and like you like peer in and you're like, hi, and then you like pick the book. Actually, it was probably like totally offensive now. You like pick up the book and be like, and you either like take it and keep walking or you just like plop it back down and you're like, goodbye. But anyway, I would like load up on books every summer and I would really look forward to this night. And then maybe 3 years ago, I decided to sponsor it when I had just started my podcast. And then I sponsored it the following year. And then it was the pandemic. And now here we are. And I finally have a book out and it's you and me on Zoom. Yay. And maybe next year, I'll be there in person, I hope. So who knows?
I hope so. I mean, it almost was, right? Weren't we out in the open for
2 seconds?
A couple of weeks?
Yeah. Well, actually, Authors Night is having a small cocktail thing for just a few people. But the East Hampton Library is like amazing. And I grew up getting books there and I'm like, I love it. It's charming and it was just recently redone and it's the children's room is great. And, so it's really nice.
Speaking of children's rooms, there used to be a Starbucks near here that was attached to a Barnes and Noble. And that's like the jackpot for moms. Like we would go there in the morning and my kids could run around and there was a kids part and I could have Starbucks. It was like something for everyone. We were in our pajamas. And then they sold the whole thing to CVS. And it was an uproar. I mean, it's so, do you have those places in New York where they have like,
yes,
you still do?
Do we have CVS? Yes.
No. Do you have those places like, is Barnes and Noble still there where you can, I know the one on 14th is, but like, there's not a lot of places actually like here, it's such a small town that you could let your kids run around I don't know if anyone else would do this, but I would let my kids run around the kid part and then I would hide and go to Starbucks.
I actually dropped my kids at Barnes and Noble once and they were like probably 10. And then I left and took like the little kids to a class. And I was like, I'll be back in half an hour.
See? That's actually
I did.
Did they even know? I mean, you're a good mom.
I mean, they knew, and I was like, call me if you need me, but I'll be back. I had to go to like, I don't know, baby acting or I don't know, something. So.
Oh my God. Yeah. Baby acting.
I know. It's like ridiculous. All these.
I also like about the pandemic though, that if you drop your kids off somewhere, you can't go in. I'm sorry, I have to wait in the car. I can't watch you play soccer.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I better check with I just finally was signing my kids up for things this fall.
Oh my God.
And it hasn't occurred to me that I'm not allowed to go in. I think I am. Anyway, I'll have to call. But anyway, well, thank you to East Hampton Library Authors Night for having me and for talking about Liz's essay in Moms Don't Have Time to, a Quarantine Anthology, and helping with my book and her book and having us join for this intimate little chit chat. So